Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Linfield Coaches CatChat. Joe Stewart here with head men's soccer coach Andy Duvall. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Joe?
Doing well, doing well. Let's get into your split weekend. On Friday night, you get the win at Pacific to kind of keep things rolling along. A little bit of a speed bump on Sunday against George Fox with the 1-0 loss. We'll get into that in a moment. Let's focus on the match against Pacific. As Ronan Hodge and Sid Caceres both come away with goals. Ronan coming in the first match, Sid in the 59th minute. What were the biggest positive takeaways from that match? Is you guys got a lot of good quality looks, played well on defense for most of that match. So what were the big positives to get the win?
Yeah, I think our midfield did extremely well. Our backline was really good at starting play and getting us out of our build-up phase and getting higher up the field. We were able to play in Pacific's half a lot because of how good our midfield was in terms of trying to connect backline to frontline, and we were able to push Pacific back. The other really big positive, I think, is something that we didn't get done on Sunday against Fox, but against Pacific we did, which is we got Pacific's backline to turn and face their own goal a lot based on the deliveries that we were providing to our front runners, and with our wide players also getting around the outside of our highest wide player. So maybe an outside back overlapping a winger or a central midfielder overlapping an outside back. We were able to get Pacific's backline turned towards their own goal, which is the reason why we got both goals against Pacific. The first one coming from Aiden coming around on the left-hand side, getting near the byline, the end line, and playing a good cutback to Ronan Hodge, which Pacific's backline was facing their own goal based on the movement that we offered and where we got the ball in position, and had a good one there. And then also a long diagonal into Marcus's head on the left-hand side to get the second one, and Marcus had a good header that after their backline was pushed back and facing their own goal that set up Sid for the goal. So those were, I felt like the two big positives was our backline and midfield possession play against Pacific, and then being able to get Pacific's backline turned towards their own goal when we were in those goal-scoring positions.
Yeah, you mentioned those two assists from Aiden Carroll and Marcus Ferracune, and you guys have assisted now on 12 of 15 goals this season, and 11 different players with those assists. How does the system and the formation that you're running out there lend itself to a lot of different guys, including defenders like Marcus, being able to come up and make an impact on the attack and kind of have equal opportunity creation out there when you guys are on the attacking third?
Yeah, I think you have to have, and this is something that Coach Ponce and I have talked about here recently quite a bit, is the better teams in the conference right now, PLU, Willamette, Whitworth, Whitman, when you watch them play, they play with a lot of rotations. Their wingers will rotate with their outside backs. Their central midfielders will rotate with their number 9. There's a lot of rotations, and when you do that, you end up with a lot of players in higher positions up the field that in different formations that require less rotation may not find themselves up there. And so we as a program over the last year and a half have tried to adopt what we believe to be a really functional formation and way of playing that allows rotations to exist without leaving us too wide open for counterattacks. We've gotten better at it this year. We still give up goals on counterattacks occasionally because we don't get the right rotation at the right time. But when you rotate players, basically everybody other than your center backs are going to be in advanced positions at some point during the game in the possession phase. And it's not just us. I bet you could look at several teams in the conference and they've probably got a reasonable amount of goals spread out amongst several players. And it just comes from, having guys that are going to occasionally find themselves, based on the way that rotation works in your possession phase, closer to the goal. And we've gotten better at it, but we still have a long way to go.
You did give up the one goal late on a penalty kick. A couple of key fouls there, and we were talking before. You said you weren't as worried about the fouls as what that led to those type of aggressive defense having to be played. Where do things need to be cleaner in a 2-0 type of match where you're trying to close a team out? And, of course, like I said, it didn't end up hurting you, but 2-1, all of a sudden, you're a little bit more on edge than you were at 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, goals that you score and goals that you concede generally happen because of a few mistakes that lead up to the ball being in a goal-scoring position, or really, really good decisions and good play that lead to that. It's not just because of the final decision or the final moment before the ball hits the back of the net. And for us, when we were up 2-0 against Pacific, Brandon started pushing some guys forward. Pacific's head coach started pushing some guys forward. They got more aggressive and they started playing balls in, and you have to know that that's going to come at the end of a game, and you have to be able to, one, be good at clearing balls and repelling those balls that come out good enough to where when you do it, you are hitting the ball to spots where they can't immediately pick it up by sending more guys forward. And two, know that when you can't get those balls out, you have to be really disciplined in your 1v1 defensive work. And the goal that we conceded came from a ball that was played in. We didn't get cleared in a way that we should have. It left a player in a 1v1 defensive scenario who got too tight to the player that he was trying to defend, allowing the player on the ball to turn him and get into the box with the ball at his feet. So those two mistakes led to the opportunity for Pacific to be able to earn a penalty, and whether you feel like it's a penalty or not, they earned it. And so, or they earned the opportunity to make the referee make a call. And the referee made that call, and we had to deal with it. So it was a few things that led to that moment that really we didn't get right. It wasn't necessarily just what happened in the penalty area after the player had the ball at his feet in that spot. So there are things we've got to get right in order to just not even be in that spot.
All right, against George Fox, that was a team that you guys were able to take care of at their place earlier in the year. And I have to imagine that even though it was only 1-0 and you guys certainly had chances, this had to be one of the more disappointing matches of the season for the team.
Yeah.
You guys had a long discussion after the match. Obviously, I know there's plenty you probably can't share with us from that, but can you give us an insight on what you talked to the guys about after that one went final? Everybody did look pretty frustrated on the pitch as they were walking off.
Yeah, and it was. I would say you're accurate in your assessment of it being the most frustrating loss that we've had this year for a number of reasons, but I actually looked at our record. We have not won a game at home in conference play. So we're 500 away, but we haven't won a game at home, which I didn't realize that until I looked at it. But the frustration isn't it doesn't stem from the loss itself. It stems from the way that the loss came about, which is we had too many guys in that match that weren't really focused on the impact that they themselves could have had by trying to increase their ability to play the game at a higher level. They got carried away with things that were outside of their control. And that was what the conversation at the end of the game was because the level of frustration boiled over. There were some players that were just really, really frustrated and upset at things that were outside of their control, and that's where their frustration was coming from. So we had to remind them that as a growing program, as a program that wants to reach the level of the top 3 in this conference, we have to be better about holding ourselves accountable to the things that we get right and the things that we get wrong, and not put any attention on the things that we have zero control over. And so that was the gist of the conversation after the game, was that it's okay to be frustrated, but look at yourself first. Don't look at your own teammates. Don't look at the referee. Don't look at the opponent. Don't look at the environment. Look at yourself first and say, can I honestly say that I did enough right to help us win the game today? And there wasn't really anybody after that conversation that was able to say, yeah, I got enough right to help us win today. And so the frustration's fine, but you got to identify where it should really be identified and attributed to, and it can't be something that is outside of your own responsibility.
You guys got off to what seemed like a pretty good start in that match through the first 6 minutes or so, as you had 3 really nice looks to open up the match before giving up the goal in the 6th, and then only 3 more shots for the rest of that first half. What kind of shifted in the tide there after giving up that goal and allowed George Fox to kind of control possession a little bit more?
Yeah, it was just the attitude of the guys. They conceded the goal and they dropped. And you and I talked about it last week. The 2 games against Whitman and Whitworth, they conceded 2 goals in a span of 4 minutes. And it's that attitude that after you concede a goal, you've got to immediately assess it, correct what you know you need to correct so that it doesn't happen again, and then move on in the game. And our guys weren't able to move on after they conceded to George Fox, and they allowed it to bother them to the point where they were out of the right mentality for the rest of that first half. And we had to try and bring them back to it on the halftime talk, which we did, and we had a better second half. We didn't get the goal we needed to get back level, and then another one to try and win the game. But at least the guys' attitude was better in the second half. And so it's that ability to have the maturity necessary to be able to get past a mistake that leads to a goal without neglecting to learn from it, and then just get your attitude right so you can continue to play at a high level. And we weren't able to do that against Fox.
Despite giving up 17 shots and that early goal, it seemed like the defense really played well, especially in that second half going forward, as there was only one other shot on goal for the rest of the match. What did you like there, where even though the pressure was on, they were able to limit the quality chances that the Bruins were able to take on Sunday?
Yeah, it was from the guys that were back there, so specifically Angel, Nick, AC, Logan, and Marcus. They've matured a lot this year as a group. They've come together pretty well as a group of 5 guys rotating through there. We haven't been able to get Radule back yet from a medical concern that he had. And when we get him back, it'll be fun to have him back in that rotation. But they were better in their 1v1 defensive responsibilities. As you said, they didn't give up real quality looks. But Fox is a really aggressive, quick, kind of high-flying team, so they're going to run and hit the ball hard, and they're going to try and find little spaces where they can take shots, and it may not always be a high-quality opportunity, but they're going to take it and just try and treat it as a half chance, which you have to give them credit for. I mean, half chances result in goals sometimes, so they took some half chances in the second half, but that's all our guys really gave them. So credit to our guys for not giving them very much in terms of a high-quality opportunity in that second half. But we didn't produce enough in the second half to really worry Fox, even though we had more shots on goal than they did. The quality wasn't there.
You've got a tough road trip coming up this weekend as you head to Tacoma, Puget Sound on Saturday, PLU on Sunday. The first time that you faced off against those two teams to open conference play here in McMinnville, or maybe it was the weekend after. It was one of those first 2 weekends.
Yeah, I think it was opening weekend.
Sure, yeah. But they kind of set the tone for the rest of the season after they shake off the 6-0 loss to PLU and come out and tie Puget Sound for the first time in a few years. Versus PLU, where does the team need to be better? Where has the team gotten better in comparison to that first match to come out and give a competitive full 90 minutes against the top team, one of the top teams in the conference?
Yeah, really just, again, the belief that they know they're able to play against a team that has had a lot of success over the last 7, 8, 9 years. I think, John's been there a long time. He also struggled through his first 5, 6, 7 years as the head coach there in terms of results, but he's developed a really good program, and a big part of it is just having kids that believe in themselves and believe in what their coaching staff gives them and can replicate what they do in training on the match pitch. What our guys didn't do well enough against PLU in that first game of the year for conference play was to replicate what we do in training on the match pitch. And they've gotten better at that throughout the course of the season. But what PLU does is they put you under a ton of pressure because, again, they have a way that they play where they've got really, really specific rotations within the way that their midfield moves and within the way their front line moves. They've got some really dynamic strikers. Chris Lozano being, in my opinion, one of the best strikers in the conference. He's just quick, decisive, really intelligent, and dangerous with the ball at his feet. And they've got some speed. So what you have to do is you have to make sure that you are you understand the moments of the game that you're in the spots of the field that you're in, and give them certain things, but don't give them enough to where you give them opportunities to score. And so it'll be a fun challenge for us. I'm really looking forward to playing PLU again at their place and making sure that our guys can replicate what we do in training to a high level. And then against UPS, I mean, it's an interesting one playing up there because they play really hard. They have a specific way that they play. It's always an exciting game up there because there's always good energy in their team and in the way that they're coached. And so that one I think will probably have a few more fireworks in it than the PLU match, just because the environment at UPS is a little bit different. But these are going to be really good matches for us. I'm expecting a lot out of our guys this weekend.
Yeah, quickly, just one more thought against Puget Sound. I mean, you guys were right there against them. You outshot them to 28. You were an own goal away from winning that match, an early own goal. Where in the margins can you give yourself an edge in a tightly contested match that, I mean, that's how it went here in McMinnville. We imagine that, like you said, there could be some more fireworks, and that's a tough team to play at their place. So where do you have to find those smaller edges in the match?
Well, you got to make sure that you're playing in a way that doesn't play to their strengths. I think I mentioned this after we talked when we played UPS here, is that, I mean, they've got 2 big athletic center backs, and if what you're going to do is try and battle their center backs with aerial balls into the penalty area, you're probably going to lose that battle pretty often. So for us, we've got to be really intelligent about the way that we attack them when we get in the final third, get away from those big center backs, particularly in the air, and try and find good opportunities to penetrate their back line and get good shots on goal against what I think right now, statistically, is the goalkeeper that has the highest save percentage in the conference. I think his name's Ryan Saunders, his name. And so, I mean, they don't concede a lot of goals, but they don't score a ton of goals either. So every game that they're in is pretty close.
Right.
So they defend well. They're not necessarily the most dynamic team going forward. So for us, we've just got to be really smart about what it is that we give them, make sure we don't give them quality chances and do well defensively, but then be a little bit more cunning in the attacking side of the game than what they're able to try and manage and play to our strengths and away from theirs.
Sure to be a couple of exciting matches up in the Tacoma area this weekend. Again, it'll be Saturday at Puget Sound, Sunday at PLU. Both those matches starting at 2:30. Coach, good luck on the road, and thanks for the time.
Great. Thanks, Joe.